Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm here with my trusty companion who is not my sister, but today I'm going to be reading my sister's favorite books, and I actually don't even know that that is the right title for this video. It's not necessarily my sister's favorite books, it's 3 books that I haven't read that my sister has read and given 5 stars. Now I'm going to read them and see if she has decent taste in books. And, you know, I could have done very many things for this video, this vlog here in Chanmas, but I thought this would be a fun experiment because if there's one thing that big sisters like to do, it's dunk on their little sisters. I'm going to be reading 3 of my sister's 5-star favorite-ish kind of reads. On the list today, we have Same Time Next Summer by, I think it's Annabelle Monaghan or something like that. It's a summer romance that I'll talk to you about in just a second because I'm 20% in. Also Behind Closed Doors, and I think the title of this last one is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. So we've got a mystery thriller, we've got a memoir, I believe, nonfiction for sure, and then we also have a romance. And I like that we're kind of spanning my sister's taste because I feel like that kind of sums up what she reads. She also, I think, recently read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. She read that too. She likes what's popular, what's like fresh, what's new. That's kind of what I'm thinking about her tastes, but I mean, we're gonna find out in this here video. First up on the list is Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan. I feel like I'm all over the place brainwave-wise today, so bear with me. This book is about Sam and Wyatt, and Sam is back visiting her family home, her family summer home. She's living, laughing, and loving. She's gonna marry her long-term-ish boyfriend, Jack, I think is his name. He's a little uptight, she's a little uptight, but they're like letting loose this summer. Also, she's dealing with the fact that her longtime high school love, childhood best friend person, Wyatt, is in town. I think he is there to like write songs and shit because he's like a musician. I think it's going to be this like rediscovery of the fact that she used to be a young and carefree girl, but now she's uptight and a corporate lady, and I think Wyatt's gonna get her out of her shell, and she's definitely not gonna marry her fiance, as one does.
They never do.
As one does. I will say I went into this book feeling like I would dislike it based on what Spencer's told me about it. However, the writing is good. I'm listening to the audiobook for all of these books, by the way, you know, because living, laughing, loving, and want an easy time, to be honest. It's Chanmas, you know what I mean? But this audiobook narrator, I don't know who's narrating. I was trying to look at like the cover of the book to see if it was there. It's not. I like a good audiobook narration. I feel like it's making this book more pleasant than I think it would be otherwise, though I will say the writing of this book's actually really solid. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought this was going to be kind of chick lady. It's not. It feels like a romance, so I'm not mad at it. You know, I'm reading Spencer's favorite books. I'm going to take you along with me today as I do that. It's going to be chill. It's going to be casual. It's going to be very book heavy. Hope you're ready for it. And I'm kind of excited to read semi outside of my comfort zone for this video. Hayden's ready to watch me do that. Just here to be editing.
Together. Yeah.
Alright, y'all, hello. I am 50% into, again, one of my sister's favorite books. I say that, I don't want to, like, put words in her mouth, because I think she just gave me a list of her 5-star reads that I hadn't read. She's never said explicitly, Chandler, this book changed my life, but Same Time Next Summer, 50% in, and I'm starting to understand my hesitation going into this book. I mean, like, I knew why I was hesitating going into this book because it seemed basic, but at the beginning it was kind of promising. Like, the writing was good, the audiobook narration was good, but I'm starting to realize that, like, this book really is, sadly, pretty basic. The story is told in a sort of dual timeline. We're getting to see Wyatt and Sam build their relationship in the past and in the present. We're trying to see them kind of fight their attraction for each other, though not much of that has happened, I will say. And mostly Sam is just trying to kind of like figure out her life and also plan this wedding that's going to happen in this like summer town that they all visit. But I think I'm kind of failing to see why Sam and Wyatt want to be together, which is a damn shame since there is a dual timeline situation here. Like, you could convince me that these two should be together, right? But I feel like there's too much in the way of like metaphor and sort of like illusions rather than actual concrete moments. I feel like at the beginning of the fucking book with the dual timelines, you've got her, you know, digging in the sand for shells, and her friends are going to a party to drink, and she's like, I'm just not on the same wavelength as them, you know? Like, I'm not ready for that yet. But then she starts realizing she like has feelings for Wyatt or whatever. It just never feels really nothing feels grounded in reality. How about that? I actually just finished The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, don't know how to say her last name. I should probably figure that out since I enjoyed this book so much and will probably be mentioning it in future. But comparing these two books, like, I just finished this one, so it's hard not to think about it. This book feels grounded in reality despite the fact that there's like a fantastical element to the story. There is banter, there are reasons that these two work together, and you can very clearly see that on the page, but I'm not really feeling that way in this book. And it's hard because it's like effort's being put in, you know? I can tell that she's trying to convince us that these two characters, like, they're meant for each other, but I don't feel that way. And that's a bummer because it's supposed to be like a childhood friends to lovers thing, and it's just not feeling that way. We have gotten some more insight, though, I will say, into maybe the reason why Wyatt stopped talking to Sam all those years ago, or maybe vice versa. You know, we actually don't know who initiated the no contact thing, but it's interesting seeing how their kind of like friendship relationship sort of fell apart, and it makes sense, I feel like, but I'm also just kind of unimpressed. Should I be impressed by like an external force taking two characters years apart, I'm not sure, but like, I don't know. I'm just kind of like about this book. And I know that that's going to change. Before I started this one, I actually had gotten like 15% into Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. And that one I know I'm going to have like some shit to say about. So, you know, for the next hour while the sun sets, I'm going to finish same time next summer. And maybe I'll get like to the 20% mark of the mystery thriller and we can read that one next. I feel like leaving on a nonfiction-y book, I think that seems good, right? Like maybe I'll learn an important lesson. Probably not. But anyway, I'll check back in with y'all probably around dinner time if Hayden feels like cooking. He literally ate lunch at 4 p.m. This man, I swear to God.
All right, so I finished Same Time Next Summer, and love ya, dear sister, but I don't really get this one. I think Spencer and I have talked about this before, that oftentimes when you are less familiar with a genre, you're getting back into reading perhaps more mediocre books and impress you. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being someone who is easily impressed. If anything, I wish that I were that kind of person. However, I'm not. I feel like the book as a whole was just very middle of the road, very mediocre. I wasn't really impressed by the hero and heroine. I didn't care for the conflict in this book. I just thought it was kind of mid in every way. To me, this is like very 2-star. I'll probably forget about this in a couple of days. Like, it was fine, but I don't really get it. And you know what? It kind of makes sense given like the, I guess, recommendations that my sister takes for me. I feel like she primarily takes romance recommendations for me and then kind of does her own thing when it comes to like thrillers or memoirs or whatever, which is nice because then I like have someone to go to for those genres, but like this was just not it for me. And yeah, so it makes sense that like this is the one that she gave a high rating. I don't know why I'm trying to justify it. I didn't like it. It's fine. Not shocked or surprised. A book that I don't know how to feel about. I am 25% into Behind Closed Doors and it is very wild. I cannot remember the name of our heroine. It doesn't seem to matter much, but she has a sister named Millie who has Down syndrome, and apparently when Millie was born, I guess her parents were like older and like didn't really want to take care of Millie and were gonna just adopt her out, but our heroine insists that she wants to take care of Millie, and I think she maybe tried to off herself when her parents like threatened to send Millie away or something like that. So she's very attached to her sister, which I think is really sweet. And then she gets caught up with a man. This story is told in like past and present timeline. In the past, we're seeing how their relationship came to be, how he wooed her, how they got married, and how he always treated Millie like a sister. I just feel like red flags were going off even in that part of the book, but basically I think we're going to find that this man is evil incarnate. He is very controlling and he's using Millie, the sister with Down syndrome, as leverage against our heroine who cares deeply for her sister. I think Millie goes to a school. I guess the husband like will no longer, I think his name's Jack, will no longer pay for the school if heroine like doesn't behave or whatever. And this all happened like right after the wedding, so it's interesting. I feel like that's not really a spoiler to say because I feel like you can tell pretty early on that like that's kind of what the story is going to be, but I'm wondering if that's all this book is. I think my complaint would be like if this book stays how it is, I think I'm going to be like bothered by it. I feel like I need some twists and turns, like maybe the heroine's also a total bitch, but it doesn't really seem like that's going to be the case. It's like what's going to happen to make this interesting, you know? Like it's definitely intriguing because this man's very evil and is controlling, but I feel like there's got to be something else there. So we'll see as the story progresses. I feel like it's hard to talk about mystery and thrillers though without really like spoiling them. So I think what I'm going to do is finish this one and just let you know how I'm feeling about it or like what my final thoughts were, and then we can carry on with the memoir. I'll be back.
Okay, so I finished Behind Closed Doors and I don't know why it didn't immediately come to me like what the plotline of the book would be. Obviously the main character, Grace is her name by the way, would be trying to escape her abusive husband. So it's basically just about her trying to escape. Yeah, I don't know. It is definitely, I would say, on that like borderline of like a horror and psychological thriller. I think if you're someone who likes a Karen Slaughter book, I think maybe this one would be for you. I don't know that I liked it. It's not really my thing. Like I don't really like stories with like graphic abuse on page or like goriness. There's also animal abuse / animal death, animal cruelty, which I just don't really fuck with in stories. It doesn't surprise me that my sister liked this book though, which what a segue. But I know that she likes a lot of like horror movies. She likes things that are dark and twisted, and I know a lot of people do, and so I'm not yucking anyone's yum here, but it's just not really like the kind of book that I like. I do prefer something that feels a little bit more like a mystery where secrets are unfolding as the book carries on. I don't really like cheap tricks. I don't really love a real thrilling thriller, you know what I mean? But this was definitely dark, and Jack is one of the worst protagonists that I think I've ever read. So I think villain, I think he's a villain. Let's call him a villain. He's one of the worst villains I've ever read. So I mean, like, if you want something dark, like I think this could like really work for you. I think for me it's a 3-star read. I think it was objectively pretty solid. There's not a lot in here that I think was bad. I feel like some of the comments that I was reading were that like it's unrealistic, whatever. I mean, most things that unfold in mystery thrillers are like unrealistic, so I'm not really that mad at it. It didn't feel like completely beyond imagining. It wasn't really for me, but I definitely understand why my sister likes this one. So moving on to the last book, I'm 50% into Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton, and I'm actually really liking this. It's giving like major Fleabag energy. It's a memoir about this woman who, I don't really know like what her job is. I think she's like a journalist a little bit, definitely a writer of some sort. I mean, like that's what this book is. She is kind of chronicling and detailing her love life and just, I guess, the exploits of her throughout her life. And it's just very messy and fun and real and raw. I don't know that I'm like learning a ton from it. I feel like the way that this book is titled kind of makes you think that you're going to like learn an important lesson or something, but really it's just about this woman's experiences, her dabblings in alcohol, drugs, eating disorder. Like there's a lot here. It's not like an easy breezy read, but there is like a lightheartedness to it that I appreciate. And it also does touch on like other things as well, like seeing your friends get into long-term relationships when you're someone who isn't necessarily a serial monogamist. I think there's a lot of like little things that you could pick up on in this book, but I don't know that it's like, these are some, you know, really hard-hitting lessons you need to take with you about love. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's just a book to be experienced, to just like listen to this person's life. And I don't think that's necessarily bad, but it does kind of beg the question what memoirs are for. I'll tell you, I have been over the past day just really thinking about what I want to be making next year, as one does in December. And I was thinking I really want to experience more genres next year and deep dive into different things. Like I love romance and that'll always be my favorite genre, but I feel like there's just so much that's unexplored and I want to maybe explore different things. And it makes me think, what is the purpose of memoir? Is there something to be gained from the genre? I definitely think that when I'm reading this compared to something like the Jeanette McCurdy memoir, that one I feel like was very coherent. It definitely had, I would say, kind of a message to it, and it definitely followed like one particular through line of Jeanette's life, whereas this feels a little bit more overarching. Like again, I thought it was going to be a little more specific about love, and it's mostly just about Dolly's experiences, which I don't dislike. Again, it's like fun, messy, whatever. But yeah, it does kind of get me thinking, like, what is memoir? What is the purpose of memoir? Is it just to read other people's life experiences? Also, like, what makes people think that they're interesting enough to write a memoir? I don't know. Lots of ramblings and musings tonight, obviously. It's like 10:30 and I'm so tired. I have 50% left of this book, but I think I did pretty well reading like almost 3 books in a day. So I'm gonna go get my grubby ass ready for bed. I mean, my ass actually isn't grubby. I shouldn't say it like that. I'm gonna get myself ready for bed, and I'll update y'all tomorrow after I get back from Pilates. Hopefully I will be done with this book. I'll have my final thoughts and feelings. We can wrap up the video. This has been fun, actually. Kind of illuminating, and definitely has me thinking about my sister's taste in books. What a delicious background for all of us. I'm here to share my final thoughts on Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. I have to say, I became a little less charmed with this book as I continued. I guess my musings on memoirs are not unique. I mean, I knew they weren't unique, but I saw another Goodreads review for this book that said, what is the point of this? And I kind of have to agree. That's not to say that this was unpleasant in any way. In fact, I actually enjoyed it, but I feel like I'm left feeling a little bit like, what did I gain from this? I feel like this book just maybe should have had a different title or been marketed differently. I feel like this kind of made me think that I was going to learn about what this person has learned in love. And I guess love is sort of like a general term. I guess I thought it would be musings on like purely love life, and that's a component of it, but it is more about friendship and like how the other parts of your life are just as important as the romantic parts. And I don't think that's a bad message, but like also I don't really feel like this was the most coherent. Yeah, I don't know. It was fine. I don't think I'm going to think much about this after having read it. I don't think this is some like tour de force. I don't think this is as remarkable as, again, something like Jeanette McCurdy's memoir, but I didn't hate it, and I can understand to an extent what my sister could see in this book. I think part of it too will really just depend on what your love life has looked like over time. I've been with the same man for 13 years, so for me, like, I don't think I was going to really like learn a ton necessarily. Like, I'm all for like reading other people's experiences, but I kind of thought that like maybe I would learn something. But my sister has had different experiences, right? I feel like she has more of like a typical love life or like a typical trajectory for relationships or whatever. And so like maybe she gained something from this that I didn't gain. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But that's it. I read 3 books my sister recommended, and it was a time. I didn't really enjoy the first book. Books 2 and 3 were both 3 stars for me. So like, I don't know what this says about my sister's taste in books, but I think it just goes to show that you could be very similar to someone and also have very, very different tastes. Thanks for watching this. It was fun. I love y'all so much, and I'll see you in the next one.